but I thought I would present both tasting menus.
Okay.
I'll get a consensus if you like one or the other, or a recommendation or two, however we want to do it. Do that over there. So, I'll pass out a couple of the Tommy Cellars tasting menus. You guys can look through those, and I'll bring out some Imagine tasting menus in a moment.
Are you the owner of Tommy?
I am.
Perfect.
The winemaker owner. And so, and I've been working as Ross's assistant winemaker for the last 4 years. So how do you know Robert? Who knows Ross?
I just found, I do a lot of research and it had good ratings, and
very good.
So that's why I picked it. And we're actually going to Buscador tomorrow morning.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I have their tasting menu in here.
Okay.
I'll look that over in advance. You can certainly do that. Tell me if you feel otherwise. I like to give everyone a little sense of the geography and what makes our little valley somewhat unique, and talk about the wines in terms of some of the chemistry. Not that I want to bore you in any way, but just so that you know and understand why the wines might be special or not. That's for you to decide. So there's water for everyone. I highly encourage the hydration. Everyone please drink plenty of water. I've just passed out some crackers that will of course soak up a little alcohol, but they're really there to cleanse your palate between tastings so that the wines don't all start tasting the same. I have plenty of both, lots more water, I'll fill this up, and plenty more crackers as well, so please feel free to eat and raise your hand if you want more.
And if you need assistance, just holler and I'll be happy to help.
Ooh, all right.
Oh, dead
All right.
packet of
Oh no, step.
both of which are white Rhone varietals, each of which spent about a year in neutral oak, and each of which went through what we call a
Talk about the white
partial
pallets.
malolactic conversion. Does that term mean anything to anybody?
Yes. Yes.
Ah, I love that.
We've been trained well.
Very good. So that's about a 25% partial, just enough to soften it and round it off so you don't get that puckering acidic bite like a soft blanc might do.
Okay, so you're the real part.
These grapes come from 2 different vineyards. The Grenache Blanc, I'll show you on the map if you're interested. The Grenache Blanc comes from a vineyard called Thompson up in the Alisos Canyon AVA, which is about 10 minutes north of here. Beautiful vineyard.
Very smooth.
The vineyard is maybe the most meticulously manicured vineyard I've ever stepped into.
Boy, do you have
Yes.
copies of this that I can write on?
Of the tasting notes?
Yeah.
I may. Or you're certainly welcome to take it out of the sleeve.
You don't mind?
I don't mind.
Okay.
I print these up
Thank you.
every so often, so by all means.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
I'm going to keep the Imagine.
Alternately, I am pouring the Imagine 2020 Chardonnay. This is from La Pressa Vineyard, which is a little southeast of here, kind of a warmer region for Chardonnay. So very fruit forward, went through 100% malolactic fermentation. This wine might be a little different than many of the Chardonnays you've tried in that half of it is aged in acacia wood.
Aged in what?
So there's a little bit of oak and a little bit of acacia wood. So you'll find that it's a little bit different than many of the Chardonnays, certainly the California
Is it a
Chardonnays.
barrel or is it?
It's an acacia barrel, yes.
It's very good.
This is our east-west valley, running east and west this way. One of the many very unique things about this valley for wine grape growing is the fact that unlike, say, Napa and Sonoma, or even Paso, which have mountain ranges that run north and south along the coast of California, ours run east and west. I can explain all the geology, but I won't bore you too much. Point is, it all runs east and west. Nothing is blocking the wind from the Pacific that comes in this direction. And you'll feel it, if you haven't already, during the course of this afternoon. Right about 4 o'clock is when it really starts kicking in. And not only do we get wind, but more importantly, we get fog. Virtually every night, fog, overcast, comes in off the ocean, and it cools everything down, particularly in this region on the west side, that direction, that we call the Santa Rita Hills AVA. Mostly Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and some cool climate Syrahs are grown in this region here, and they benefit greatly from this abusive wind This very cool air that comes in off the ocean that gives us this fog, and this vast diurnal swing from 100 degrees during the day, 50 degrees at night, and that slows down the maturation of the grapes and allows us as winemakers working in concert do just to kind of keep the tastings balanced a little bit. I'll go ahead and pour another white for everybody. So both of these are Tommy Cellars wines. Reflection is on the list, the tasting menu, number 2 on the Tommy Cellars tasting menu. Not on your tasting menu, but certainly available, is what I call Ambient Light, which is an aged Spanish Albarino. You guys familiar with Albarino?
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice. So I've done this more in the Spanish Masters style. That is to say, I've aged it for 30 months in neutral oak. Most, I'll suggest, Albarinos, certainly as California winemakers make them, are in stainless steel. They're very bright, very acidic, refreshing even, we'll say. And I did make a version like that from this very same batch of grapes. Sold out very quickly. However, my original goal and intent was to make this aged version of the Albarino. The Spanish in Rías Baixas will, some of the masters at least, will age the wine 3 to 5 years in neutral oak. They'll then bottle it and sit on it for 5 to 10 years before they even release it. I don't expect to be alive that much longer, so I thought I'd go ahead. It's a very concentrated white wine. It's not for everybody. And by the way, you won't offend me if you pour anything out in these steel buckets. Everyone has your own palate. I don't expect everyone to like every wine by any means. So by all means pour. I'll just cry alone in the back. On the Imagine list and go to his 2020 Syrah, which is from Tierra Alta Vineyard in Ballard Canyon.
Is it really bold?
It's fairly.
Should we do the Pinots and the Grenaches first?
We could. I was trying to figure out how to line the two of them
You
up.
can do them out of,
So,
you know, it
no,
doesn't
I'll
have to
tell
be
you,
across the board.
I just didn't want to inundate you because the Pinot is mine and the Grenache is mine. I didn't want
That's
you to
okay.
feel like I was
Yours are light.
underrepresented.
Yours are lighter, and then we'll do the boulders later.
Fair enough. So let me grab the Pinot. So you guys are,
We're
you went to
cool.
Willamette.
We're all right.
You're cool?
We're cool.
I can see that you're cool. The question was, big Pinot Noir fans?
Yes, yes,
Yes.
we like it all.
Okay, very good. I'll come back with the Syrah later. I'm going to make a slight substitution on the Tommy Cellars tasting menu.
Okay.
Because this is my barrel select blend of Pinot Noir. The other one that's on the list is the non-barrel select blend.
Okay.
Which are actually, and frankly and honestly, made from the very same barrels of wine. It's just when I went to do the blend for this particular bottling, I was very particular about the blending ratios from the different barrels. I'd made 6 different barrels of the Pinot Noir, and I was 10% from this barrel, 15% from that barrel, 20 from this barrel, 30 from that barrel, to come up with this particular blend to give you the best representation of these 2 clones. And it is a blend of 2 different clones of Pinot Noir, clones Dijon 777 and Pommard 04, both of which come from La Encantada Vineyards. So once again, referring to our map, we are here in Buellton, about 20 miles to the west. Along Santa Rosa Road is La Encantada Vineyards. Fairly well-known, fairly well-respected vineyard for Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, and once again the cool climate Syrahs.
How much is this puppy?
That's more. And by the way, I'm happy to pour the other one. I do refer to it, in fact, as my budget-conscious blend, which, once again, is made from the very same wine, just not the same blending ratios as what I'm pouring for you. But I thought if you were truly Pinot Noir fans, I would pour my best foot forward first.
And that is the...
But if you're curious about the other blend, which is nominally half the price, I'm delighted to pour it for you. Pour it for you as well.
Sorry, slight cloudy.
Big
So-
13,
Of course I know.
which by itself is almost like drinking fruit punch. So I blended it with a darker, denser, more structured clone, 362, which as I suggested, it has a little more body, a little more color,
The color's gorgeous.
a little more tannin. I'll get out of your light so you can see it.
No, I can see it. It's beautiful.
Okay, so now these are both from Imagine Wine. We'll start on this side with Tierra Alta is the vineyard, Syrah. This is 36 months in barrel. It's a blend of 2 clones. We'll try another one later on. It's a slightly different blend, but this particular blend is mostly clone noir, which is French, of course, for dark or black. Here, I'll show you on the map in a moment. 36 months, and about 30% new French.
Is that Syrah in the Imagine?
Correct.
Yes.
Syrah. This is the Imagine Wine Tierra Alta Syrah,
2019?
2019. Casa Robles. This is from Eastside.
2017, Imagine Zinfandel.
The entire.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll suggest it's not like your average or typical Paso Zin. I think you'll find it quite a bit lighter and more delicate than the average jammy, slap you in the face Paso Zin.
What do you sell these glasses for?
Yeah, how much do I sell them for? They're $24 a piece. Which isn't cheap, but that's literally my cost.
Yes.
Between the glass and the
the
hand
etching.
etching.
I was going to say the sand
Yeah, the
glass.
etching.
Is that a sand?
2017, spent about 30 months in a combination
2017
of French
Cabernet
and
Sauvignon.
Hungarian. So once
Imagine.
again, it won't be altogether like a Napa cab or even the more typical Paso cabs that you might have tried. Due mostly, in fact, in part to the Hungarian oak influence that you don't normally see on a California Cabernet.
You know, you could sell bathroom time.
Yeah. Why would I do that? That's just mean. But if you got $10, you can use it.
Is this the only one in the whole square here?
It is.
Fun.
And what's interesting, it's a common space, but because it's adjacent to us, everyone thinks I'm responsible for it. There's no paper towel.
Sorry.
It's not my job. Sellers. Ross has had his labels for 20 some
Where
odd
did he
years.
get the girls from? Was he like into
The girl,
pinup
there's only
girls?
one. She appears on all but one of his labels. Perhaps in a moment we'll look inside. Inside in the tasting room is the original painting of that woman, and it's painted. So, by the way, on Ross's label, this is the very first nude woman ever approved to be on a wine label. You may or may not know this, but the TTB arm of the U.S. government has to approve every image and every word that appears on every wine label.
Oh, wow.
I wouldn't have known that.
Oh, we didn't know that. Yes.
So you learned something today.
Yeah.
And this is the very first naked lady ever approved. And the reason she's been approved, 2 of them really. One is that the artist who painted this original painting, and it hangs right here in the tasting room, was a very, at the time certainly, a very well-known artist who painted Clark Gable and Gloria Swanson, all kinds of 30s, 20s, 30s, 40s Hollywood film stars. And because this artist was considered by the U.S. government to be of historical significance, that they allowed this painting.
Well, she looks like the pinup girls from the 30s.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
So
and
who's-
what you will notice too, if you look very closely, there's no naughty bits.
Yeah.
So U.S. government allowed that to happen.
But who's the lady?
I don't know her name. We call her Pearl because she's holding
So
a
it's-
string of pearls.
Okay. But it could be a famous 20s, 30s
Could be.
pinup or something. Or a movie star. Yeah.
Maybe she couldn't act, but she looked really good. And
He's talking about the D-Max.
It sits at about 1,200 feet elevation, and it gets a little bit of this Pacific wind. Even though the mountains run north and south, if you're up at the top of those mountains, you're getting some of this wind. This wine spent about 32 months in a combination of French. Oh, did I not pour that? I'm sorry.
sorry.
Forgive me. No, I'm sorry.
Tempranillo fans. So
Oh, well, here you
enjoy
go.
some.
So you probably are aware Tempranillo is the primary grape you'll
Thank you.
find in a Spanish Rioja.
Thank you.
In Spain, it's very often blended with a little garnacha, or what we Americans call grenache. And very often they'll actually add a little bit of Graciano as well. I did add about a 4% splash of garnacha to this. But it spent 32 months in a combination of French and American oak. About 50% new oak. Still, there's Merlot. And frankly, the main difference between the two is
Imagine
the
on the
barrel
left,
aging
Tommy on the
program.
right,
It's
Merlot's.
the exact same vineyard, exact same wine, but 40 months of aging in French oak, about 30% French oak, 40 months, and 30 months in about 50% new French oak. So that's honestly the only real difference.
So
You should
30
find them
months.
to be a little bit different based on the barrel aging program, but they'll be fundamentally the same.
60, I'm guessing.
How much?
60.
I'm guessing 60 a case.
What was the discount?
20%.
Okay.
Why would it be 60 case? Everyone else has been like 18, 15.
Because they're getting deals. They're big companies get all sorts of deals.
So I'll answer it in two ways.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Imagine wine for a case to go to Florida will be $69.97.
It was right on the mark,
$7.
just about.
Well, that's why
Don't we
she's the
sell
wine
ours?
pro.
Over 6 bottles I ship for free.
Whoa.
Good old Tommy.
I'm not trying to usurp Imagine Wines here.
Well, he's not here to like. He's not here to counter.
What
Sorry.
happens when you blend them, though? When you get
Well, that's a good question. I mean,
They like yours better than the other.
50% of the blend,
2010
very
wings
finely aged, very concentrated, very dark, dense, and chewy, and yet
from Tommy.
fruity and aromatic Syrah. This is from a vineyard called Paradise Mountain Road Vineyard. I will show that to you on the map momentarily.
That's not on our list, right?
It is on the Imagine list.
Last one.
The last one. Okay.
Syrah. And then his is ZD. Zeta.
The opportunity to choose. If you don't say anything, you never come back to me. I'll send my recommendation to you.
Okay.
But you get to choose whatever you want.
A lot of members.
I have currently 45 members.
Very good.
Awesome.
oh, that's
Yay.
good. That's good.
And frankly, that's just 1 year this month.
Excellent.
Wow. That's big.
Thank you. I'm building. You know,
Yeah.
Everybody starts.
I got to start somewhere, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Get
We
on
can
the
say
ground.
we knew you went.
you can.
You can get on the ground floor here.
And it's funny you should even. I have to get more gas. I'll be right back. But I have club member number 1 and number 3. Love to come in and remind me that they're club members. How are you?
No, I'm just
Agreed.
saying, is
Uh,
it like
preserving that
sustainable?
It's inert to wine, so
Yeah.
rather than filling this bottle with air,
Yeah.
which will oxidize the wine, it's
I have a daughter in sustainability.
fair enough.
Well, you need to ask her. I
Ask us.
have no idea how you
Ask us.
how
Swear to
you
the
obtained argon.
readability of this. More space on the other side. I won't encourage you to walk through there, but if you do in fact look, there's another couple of columns of barrels, etc. We're getting ready for harvest this month. It's a little behind schedule because we had some fairly cool weather for California all the way up through June. And so bud break, fruit set, veraison, all these vineyard terms, they've all happened about a month later than usual this year. So whereas last year, August 15th, I had harvested Viognier, it's going to be September 15th before I get my hands on it.
Do you
It's a
have
little-
a big vat that they can see what it looks like when, you're just
getting the fermentation.
The
process
fermentation,
started.
they're actually out back and it's kind of disgusting out there, so I
Oh,
won't.
okay.
No problem.
Okay, yeah.
Well, you know, if you want to poke your heads out there, sure. You can look at a fermentation barrel right there. All those that are wrapped in plastic. And spanking new. But if you want to look this way, it's a little treacherous, forgive me. Wasn't anticipating this. And it's a little disgusting. Not
right.
not my
Like the
disgusting.
sculptor's workshop.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So forgive all this junk here in the foreground. But those these bins right here.
Okay, that's what it,
So these are what you call a 1.5 ton fermentation bin.
okay,
1.5 tons, but you'd put 1 ton in there typically.
okay.
These are half-ton picking bins. So when they go to pick the fruit, they'll fill up one of those with 1/2 ton of fruit, and we'll bring 2 of these back, put it in the press, or I'm sorry, we'll put it in the destemmer.
December, so you have a machine that just does it?
I don't know if you can see it from where you're standing, but covered in a blue tarp.
Okay.
That's actually the press.
Oh, yeah,
That's
I
the
see.
press, but
Okay.
to the left of that is a destemming device. And the destemming device will vibrate, and it has these plastic fingers. It just sort of pulls the berry between the vibration and the rotation and the fingers. It's a really kind of intense, complicated device, but it's doing this.
That's cool.
And it's pulling the berries off. We don't ever crush our berries. You hear about crush, you know, Lucy stomping.
Yeah,
We don't do that. And one of the reasons we don't, there's several reasons we don't do that. You missed it. Fermentation bins and picking bins. 1/2 ton picking bin, 1.5 ton fermentation bin.
Oh, nice.
It's kind of gross out here, forgive me.
Hey, this is cool.
Oh,
This is
okay.
where it happens.
This is exactly,
This
well,
is where the magic begins.
I choose not to crush the berries. And the reason I don't, there's a couple of reasons. But one of the biggest reasons is when you destem, and if I crush the berries, all that juice comes out and fermentation will go like that.
Starts immediately.
It starts immediately. Well, I can control when it starts, but once it starts, there's no control. It just goes. So what I choose to do instead is to just destem those berries. They'll drop into a bin just like that, and under their own weight,
They'll start on this.
it'll start to. It's what the French. It's a term they use called saigner. They'll bleed. The grapes will just under their own weight start to bleed a little bit of juice. What I do is to put dry ice on that, or now I have a chiller that keeps all that very, very cold so that fermentation won't start right away. The reason I don't want it to start right away, 2 reasons potentially. One is I may want to draw a little bit of juice off for a Saunier Rosé. You might have heard of that term before.
Yeah.
So I might get some rosé out of that juice after about 6 hours sitting on its own skins. But more importantly, for the rest of the wine, it'll sit there and I'll keep it very, very cold, and it'll continue to bleed grape juice, and that juice will sit on the skins in what we call the cold soak or a cold maceration. So for as many days as I can keep it cold without kicking off fermentation, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, I'll keep it as cold as I can with dry ice and air conditioning, and now I have a chiller. Just to let it get more time on the skins, because it's extracting color, it's extracting tannins, anthocyanins, a lot of other boring chemistry that you don't want to hear about, but it's pulling stuff out of the skins in a way that if I don't give it time, you don't get that extra extraction. So I do a cold soak to begin with, then I'll kick off fermentation, and once fermentation starts, the berries do in fact start to break down and then release more juice a little bit at a time. Instead of crushing it all at once at the beginning, they release the juice slowly, a little bit at a time, and you get all this very long-term sitting on the maceration, they call it, sitting on the skins. And I'll try and keep that going for 3 or 4 weeks if I can. So that's fermentation bins.
Okay, what is this called?
that takes the
Spray
wine.
bottle. Oh,
No.
Think of the word taking.
Thief.
It's a thief.
Wine thief.
Wine
And I
is a
just
wine
sprayed it
thief?
with 98% pure distilled wine alcohol. Take a whiff.
Wine, alcohol?
Pure wine alcohol. Everything that touches the wine gets sterilized with pure wine alcohol. Or, what happened to my water? Hello.
Yeah.
Pure wine alcohol, or forgive me, I'm stumped. My water pressures. Or it gets 350 degree steam, much hotter than 212 degrees steam. Or ozone water. So, what you're about to try. You know, you guys in a rush. We'll do this quickly. Okay. This is for 2021.
How'd you get up there?
This
Yeah,
is
you
not
have
a
the glass,
finished
get up
wine,
there.
so don't be judging too harshly.
Mm.
But many people have suggested it's ready. I do not think it's ready. Most of my colleagues would have bottled it by now.
This a single
What is this?
vintage, or is it?
It's a
blend
single
already?
vintage, but it is, I've done a barrel blend.
It's a barrel.
Very quick explanation. So if you look at these two barrels, 21 is the vintage, TC is Toby Cellars, Watch Hill is the vineyard,
Okay.
SY is Syrah, 01 is batch number 1, and that's batch number 2. And I have 2 other barrels from each of these batches. So I have a total of 3 batches, or 3 barrels from each clone. And these represent different clones. This is clone 470, and that would be 174. So I've got 6 barrels of these, 3 of each of these 2 clones. And then I had a little bit left over of each, and I put it into this barrel that I'm calling batch number 3. So what you're getting is, in fact, a blend of the 2 different clones, but it's a very random blend
Right.
that doesn't represent how I will blend it in the future. Once again, not a finished wine. First thing maybe to note is the color. Pretty dark, pretty inky. This is the one I was speaking about earlier that I might consider putting a splash of Viognier in.
Beautiful color.
That little bluish hue that you see on it right now is a suggestion of its youth.